to what I want to do today is we're going to look at a video, which is sorry, at a website which we've been building, and we've just added a few things to it. So you've seen that we've been able to do hyperlinks. I showed you a nav, but there's some things that we have to add to our understanding of the way the navs work. So we need to understand the relationship between the different folders. So at the moment, I'm in this folder now, which is called, where am I? Mark Personal. And there is a subfolder of it, which is called Website and Nav. No, sorry, I'm in HTML training, which is a folder in the Mark Personal, which is, what's that? That's on the internet in the cloud. I have a subfolder which is called Website and Nav. If I open that, I see that it has some subfolders. Now, how do I move files between the folders? We need to know how the folder structure works. And from the folder structure, we can move things around. So we would say that CSS, images, pages are all subfolders of the website and nav. The index.html file, just like we've seen in other times we've done this, that is in the root of that thing. And so this looks familiar to you, I'm sure, right? So what you see here is I have these two hyperlinks. These two hyperlinks go to two other pages. Can you please watch what happens here? When I click on this, I move to this page. When I click on this, I move to this page. So I can move from each of those, I can move back to the home page. So this is typical of how we would organize a website. This website is made up of 3 pages, and we have links between them. We can move between any of those 3 pages. So how do we do that? We would have to look at the HTML code to understand that, I think. And so hopefully one of these is, yes. So if I go into the index folder, the index file and open it with Visual Studio. The navigation part is here. And so you've seen the A tag thing before. I've got a navigation thing where I've got A tags to two different files. And you see that they're both in the pages subfolder. There's 2 different files in there, one which is my columns and one which is my 4 columns. Now, depending on which one of those things I click on, I'll move to those files. That's what the A tag with the href does. It actually allows you to transfer your control to a different file. And that's what we've done. Now, if I go back into let's see what I'm doing here is I'm moving into the subfolder so I can see what's in there. Oh, wrong subfolder. I can see what's in there. If I go to the pages subfolder, I have those 2 files that I was looking at. If I look at them, open them up with my Visual Studio Code, I'll see that I have a nav section for them as well. Where's my nav section? Here. And now I want you to look at this part here, right? To get to the index, it says ... slash. To get to columns, there's no ... slash. What the ... slash means is go to my parent folder. The ... is the parent folder. Does that make sense? So if you look at the folder structure again, I can go up here to get to my parent folder. So ... is the equivalent of going up, right? That says go to the parent folder. In the parent folder, you'll find the index.html file. That's what it's saying to do. Go to the parent folder and you'll find the file there. Now, I've got something similar to that when I get to my images. So the images, it says ... slash. So go to the parent folder. When you get to the parent folder, go to the images folder, and that's where you'll find it. So from the pages folder, I would go up to the parent folder. From the parent folder, I'd go into the images folder, and that's where I'd find my images that I want to show on my page. Does everybody see how that works? So the ... just means go to a parent. To get to child folders, we just say their name and put the slash. So that's how that works. Let's look at this web page again. So as I said, I've got one with 4 columns. Now, it doesn't show 4 columns there, right? It only shows 1 column. You've seen this trick before. What how that's working is with the app media command. The app media command changes the way it's displayed depending on the width, in this case, of the file. If I go to my other columns page, we'll see that that is also styled differently depending on how wide it is. So if I make it narrower.
Is that KTM?
Yeah,
Right.
I had lots of KTMs. This one is a Yamaha, but those others are KTMs. So if I go wider, I get this. If I go narrower, I get that. And so how is that possible? Okay, this which folder, which one is this? I think this is the 4 column one? Yeah, 3 column. So if I go to the 3 column and look at the code, so this is my columns. I need to go here to find it. This is in the images, so I'll go up from the images into the pages, and there's my columns there. Open that in Visual Studio. And I've got 2 app media commands. This is for the 3 column page. What I'm doing with the 2 app media commands is if the browser is less than 800, then we're going to have a single column. And I'm going to make the background color aqua. If it's bigger than 1,000, I will also have a single column, but I'm going to make the background red. And so that is why we see it. There it is. If we make it really wide, we get a single column with the background red. If we make it really skinny, we get a single column with the background white. Very cool, yeah? I hope you agree that that's kind of cool. Let's look at one other thing before we sort of finish on this. I hope that that's made some sense to you. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger, and we're going to see, wrong page. It's in the 4 columns page. So do you see this thing here? Watch this. See. Do you see this thing here? This little button. What you can do, and this is a very, very limited introduction I'm going to give you to now, which is about JavaScript. JavaScript is programming on the client side. Most of the big programming that we do is actually on the server side. But JavaScript allows you to program on the client side. What does that mean? It means you can put your code right into your web page and things will happen on your web page without having to go to the server. Going to the server, why is that a problem? Because usually our server is on an internet connection somewhere out there. And so you have to have all of those connections up, and you also have to have a server, right? Those things cost money. And so the individual developers don't do that too much. Now, I've said that. Now, you can put a server on your own computer. I've got a server on here. I think I showed you that. You can do that, but a server on your own computer is not going to give you the power of sharing things over the internet. If you want something on the internet, you need to get a server on the internet. See this thing here? This is my WAMP server, which lets me do things that looks like the internet, but it's not. And so, yeah, I think I've already shown you that. So let's go back to that web page. Do you see this? When I push this button, let's see what's going to happen. I get showing up on the page somewhere, and it's a bit of a mess there, but it shows up with the time and the date. If I actually change the width of the columns, it'll be easier to read it. Come on. Yeah, do it there. And I probably have to run down to the bottom of the page, but there's the time and the date showing up down there at the bottom of the page. If I click it again, the time and the date will update. That's a very, very simple little bit of JavaScript. We're going to be doing a lot more of JavaScript where you write functions, just like we did in Python. This little bit of JavaScript, all it is we have a little thing, a little object that we call a button, and we're able to code the button to do something. So let me show you that code. So you're going to see your first little bit of JavaScript here. In a couple of days, I'm going to have you working in JavaScript. So is it here or is it on that other page? No, it's not here. So it must be on the 4 column page. JavaScript, where are you? The button, here it is. It's not very well separated from the rest of the code. But there it is, very small thing. I've got a button, and the button, when I click on the button, and I hope this is obvious when it says that, when you click on the button on click, we have this thing in HTML called the DOM, which allows us to identify different elements within the web page. And so the document, it becomes an object. We've got a method on that object, which is called get item element by ID. We've used a class to identify a particular part of the web page. Here we've called it TND, which would be time and date. And I think I put that at the end of, yeah, here it is. So we've got a paragraph which we've identified as being time and date. And inner HTML says, here's a cool thing about JavaScript. You can actually change the HTML of your page using a JavaScript command. And we've got a JavaScript command, which is the date, which just shows the date and time. That's all I really wanted to show you on today's sort of lesson. I will give you this code, and I want you to sort of play around with it and do some with your own. Like I've done now, I've asked you to make a website with images, lists, right, and tables, but you to put your own data in it. So that means not just copying mine, you have to get your own data. Maybe it would be a good idea if you included in that a button that did something like this. And so that button would be this little thing here. In our next lesson after this, I'll give you a little bit on a bit more on JavaScript. Now, last thing I want to do before I close this off is please have a look at this here, our nav bit. Remember the difference between going to the parent directory first and then finding the thing that we're trying to find. In this case, we're trying to find the home page. So we had to go to the parent directory. That's where the home page was, as opposed to going to the My Columns, which was in the same directory. So we didn't need to say anything about directories. Okay, that's all.